Sometimes, the road we think leads to joy can actually be a path to sorrow. And sometimes, even when wickedness plans its darkest deed, God's eye is always watching, preparing an escape. This is the story of Adeola, a young woman who faced a betrayal so deep, it could only have been stopped by a divine hand. Imagine the terror, the sheer desperation. "Amara, please! Don't throw me inside the lion house, a beg, please!" These were the words, a raw cry torn from Adeola's throat, even as Amara and her friends, Dami, Chica, and Bimp, their faces twisted with a strange, cold joy, bundled her up. Like a sacrificial lamb, they heaved her. A sharp push and whoosh, into the dark, echoing pit she went. The ground below trembled, not with fear, but with the heavy, unmistakable steps of a beast. The air itself grew thick with the musky scent of wild animal, and then a deep, guttural roar that shook her very bones. Adeola squeezed her eyes shut, her heart threatening to leap out of her chest. Just hours before this unimaginable horror, life had been, by all accounts, perfect. Amara, you see, had called Adeola with the sweetest voice, inviting her to what was supposed to be a fun, relaxing picnic. They were meant to have a lovely time with those same three friends, Dami, Chica, and Bimp, who now seemed like strangers with wicked intentions. The preparations had gone so well. Amara, being the host with a car, had even prepared delicious jollof rice, plenty of snacks, and refreshing juice. Adeola, known throughout their vibrant Ogun State neighborhood for her culinary skills, had proudly contributed her famous fried rice and a fresh, crunchy salad. Everything had seemed to sparkle with the promise of laughter and good company. The morning had started with such brightness. They had all set off in Amara's sleek car, the windows down, letting the warm Nigerian breeze playfully tug at their headscarves, laughter filling the air. They were driving towards a serene picnic spot, just about an hour's journey within Ogun State. But what Adeola didn't know then was that every smile was a mask, every kind word a deception. There was a coup brewing, a wicked, wicked coup hiding beneath those seemingly innocent smiles, destined to turn a day of fun into a nightmare. Amara was a sight to behold, a truly beautiful lady in her early 20s. Her skin, smooth like polished mahogany, her eyes always sparkling, and a smile that could charm anyone. She came from a family whose wealth was clear for all to see. The kind of family that owned big houses and exclusive estates and drove the latest cars. For about 2 years, Adeola had been her friend. It seemed like a genuine friendship, built on shared laughter and secrets, the kind of bond young women often form. Adeola, sweet and unassuming, never suspected the venom that could sometimes lurk beneath such a polished surface. Then, Gideon walked into the picture. He was a cool, brilliant young man, the kind who carried himself with a quiet confidence. He wasn't flashy, but his presence commanded respect. When he met Adeola, something clicked. He fell in love with her, not with a loud declaration, but with a steady, growing affection of someone looking for substance. He hadn't told Adeola much about his background yet. He was just looking for a good woman, a wife, and he saw all that and more in Adeola. But Amara had also set her sights on Gideon. Her admiration quickly curdled into a dangerous obsession. For her, it wasn't love, it was a conquest. Gideon had to be hers, by force if necessary. Her wealthy upbringing had taught her that what she desired, she received. "It's either him or no other woman," she had declared to her friends, her voice laced with a terrifying conviction. "Even my own mother can't get Gideon if I don't get him." The audacity, the possessiveness, it showed the true darkness festering beneath her beautiful exterior. Adeola, innocent and trusting, was completely oblivious to the silent battle being waged for the heart of the man she was quietly falling for, and the dangerous enemy she had unwittingly made. The drive to the picnic spot, my dears, was filled with a false cheer that would later send shivers down Adeola's spine. Amara, Dami, Chica, and Bimp kept the conversation lively, laughing at small jokes, singing along to the latest hits playing low on the car's stereo. Adeola, completely at ease, chatted happily, oblivious to the wicked script being performed around her. The Ogun State landscape whizzed by, dusty roads turning into smoother stretches, the occasional market stall giving way to more secluded, greener areas. Amara navigated confidently, taking turns that Adeola didn't recognize, explaining them away as shortcuts or a more scenic route. Eventually, the car slowed and turned off the main road onto a rough, unpaved track. The laughter in the car dwindled, replaced by an uneasy quiet. Tall, overgrown bushes lined the path, obscuring any view of civilization. This was no ordinary picnic ground. This felt remote, isolated. Amara parked the car in a clearing, far from any other vehicles or people. "Finally, we're here," Amara announced, her voice a little too bright. But there was no sprawling grass, no charming shade trees for picnicking. Just dense bush and, in the distance, a formidable fence. It looked more like a perimeter for a large, undisclosed estate or even a forgotten farm. As they got out, the change in the atmosphere was immediate and chilling. The smiles vanished from Dami, Chica, and Bimp's faces, replaced by grim, determined expressions. Amara's eyes, once sparkling, now held a cold, hard glint. Adeola felt a sudden knot of dread in her stomach. "Amara, where exactly are we?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly, a flicker of fear starting to bloom in her heart. But before she could get an answer, Amara gave a subtle nod to her friends. In a flash, Dami and Chica grabbed Adeola, one arm each, holding her tight. Bimp, with surprising speed, produced a length of rough rope from her bag. "What is this? What are you doing?" Adeola cried, struggling, confusion and terror warring in her mind. "Amara, stop them!" Amara just watched, a cruel smirk playing on her lips. They tied Adeola's hands roughly behind her back, muffling her desperate pleas with a piece of cloth. Then, like a sack of unwanted goods, they bundled her, dragging her towards that ominous fence. Adeola's heart pounded, a frantic drum against her ribs. The air grew heavy, not just with fear, but with a faint, unsettling animal scent. She saw it then, a large, sturdy gate in the fence, designed to keep things in rather than out. It was a proper enclosure. With a final, brutal push, Amara and her friends heaved Adeola over the threshold. She landed hard on the dusty, uneven ground inside, her breath knocked out of her. Above her, she heard the triumphant, chilling laughter of Amara and her friends. The gate clanged shut with a terrifying finality. And then, from the shadows of the enclosure, came a low growl, deep and vibrating through the earth. A shape emerged, massive and powerful, its eyes glowing. A lion. Its approach was slow, deliberate. Adeola was paralyzed, clutching Gideon's handkerchief, a small, comforting square of fabric he had given her. It was her only link to anything good in this sudden nightmare. The lion was coming closer, its breath hot, its gaze intense. But then, as it sniffed the air, it paused. Its mighty head turned slightly, a different rumble now emanating from its chest. It seemed to perceive something, a scent it recognized. This terrifying beast, instead of attacking, circled her once, then settled down, a massive protective presence between Adeola and the dark edges of the enclosure. She was utterly thrilled, not understanding why this king of the jungle did not consume her. It was Gideon's handkerchief, she would later realize, that had saved her, its familiar scent of his shepherd reaching the animal. And so, the lion protected her through the long, terrifying night, until the next morning when Gideon himself would arrive to rescue her. Adeola's eyes snapped open. The first thing she heard was the insistent high-pitched cring-cring of her alarm clock. 5 a.m. The same hour she had set it to prepare for the picnic. She lay there, absolutely drenched in sweat, her heart still hammering against her ribs as if trying to escape the confines of her chest. The smell of dust, the scent of wild animal, the fear. It had all been so incredibly real, so vivid. She stared at her familiar bedroom ceiling, then down at her clean, untouched wrapper. A dream. Just a dream. A wave of profound, shaking relief washed over her, so intense it almost made her weep. But that relief quickly curdled into a chilling dread. As she tried to calm her racing mind, rubbing the sleep and terror from her eyes, her phone vibrated beside her. Amara calling. Adeola stared at the screen, her breath catching in her throat. Hesitantly, she answered. Adeola, are you prepared for today's journey? Amara's voice chirped, bright and carefree, exactly as it had sounded in the dream. Come on, get dressed and let's go. Adeola froze. Her blood ran cold. The exact words, word for word, the same enthusiasm, the same invitation. Her mind replayed the nightmare, the cruel laughter, the bundling, the fall, the roaring lion, the treacherous farm. Lying there in her bed, the pieces of the terrifying puzzle began to click into place with an unnerving clarity. Gideon. In her dream, he was a farmer. His family owned a recreational center with wild animals. But in real life, Adeola knew Gideon's family dealt in cars, importing sleek vehicles, not rearing lions on a farm. The details were different, yet the core message, the warning, was screamingly consistent. It wasn't just a random nightmare. It was a message. A clear, undeniable warning from God. He was saving her from an evil plan whose full, horrifying details she didn't know, but whose deadly intent had just been laid bare in the terrifying theater of her sleep. Amara's words, matching those of the dream, were a resounding no to that picnic, a no to that journey. She knew instantly that she would not be going. But then, a new thought began to settle in her shaken mind. She needed to understand. She needed to find out why. Why did Amara, her supposed friend, want to hurt her so terribly?